Stefan, thanks for joining for another bi-weekly product update. I'm excited to talk about some of the things we've been working on this week, the last 2 weeks.
Awesome. Thanks, Kurt. I'm happy to be back and happy New Year. Probably the end of January already. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Happy New Year to you as well. We're just getting back from a on-site where we really cast a pretty exciting vision for 2026. So, we kind of been zoomed out, and now we're going to zoom back in and talk through some of the exciting projects we're working through, right here and right now. I think I've been watching all the dev updates coming through, and it feels pretty futuristic. So I'm excited to spend a little time talking through some of these projects. First, I want to talk through maybe a project that touches on the second project too, which is dynamic data platforms. We've been talking a lot about data engineering this year and having great customer visibility so that they can see success, but also do more things on top of our tool by reading data more dynamically. Could you talk about what we're building there and, kind of what the genesis of that was?
Yeah, 100%. I think data engineering has been a big problem for many years, especially a big data quantity side of things. And as we move into the world of AI, AI as we know is non-deterministic. So how do we kind of make these data structures non-deterministic? So I think the genesis of it is we pretty much got a huge amount of users kind of onboarding, building your agents very quickly, very effectively. We see a lot of the tooling and the skill sets these people build is around data extraction. So pulling it from various sources, your emails, your RDS clusters, your Elasticsearch to make the agent better decision making. So giving it the context going forward. So ultimately what we're trying to do is trying to figure out like, what does a platform look like, which we call non-deterministic. How do we allow users to select sources, 400 different sources, select the intervals in which they want to inject those sources, pass it through some mapping algorithm or some AI that looks at the mapping structure to something that is more non-deterministic. So when we talk non-deterministics, we talk about data has relationships. So what does it look like on a graph? What does it look like in a factual graph? What is this optimized search looks for? And, these are problem areas we're thinking through that data pipeline from the non-deterministic kind of aggregation side of things. How do we store it? How do we optimize it? And the ultimate goal we're trying to get to is that your agent will always be able to query your data source in natural language. Doesn't matter where that data source is. And as a user, you can go onto the admin dashboard. You can link as many data sources you want. We'll process it and give the exact information to the agent in terms of how they need it. So this could be information across product listings. It could be information across user base. It could be information across analytics, sales revenue, anything that the agent could use to make it more efficient in terms of decision making to kind of perform state changes downstream. So it's a big fluffy problem. I think the industry at the moment is still trying to figure out, how do we get these agents to be more efficient? As we know, they've all got context window limits. So you can't just throw a huge spreadsheet at it and ask it various questions, but how can we make it smarter in terms of being able to ask an external system a natural query, and that natural query then relates down into what is factuals and coming out of it. So that's kind of in a nutshell what we're focusing on. I'm very excited about it. It's almost like envisioning what would Google look like from in an agentic era. But yeah, so that's the kind of work we're doing. We're looking at a release probably in the beta release in the next 4 weeks, but probably towards the end of the quarter, especially like legacy customers, which have fragmented data sources around an organization. How do we unify those data sources and query those data sources?
Yeah, I think it's an exciting problem and one we talked about last time actually of like for instance, a marketing funnel. In a traditional kind of standard UI based world, there's steps. You click next, you click next, you click complete. In our world, there's a more sometimes windy journey, sometimes cyclical with people resetting and changing directions and maybe doing multiple transactions with one store. And so that kind of non-deterministic model is really important. So obviously, marketing funnels is one great application. Can you talk through maybe one of the early applications we'll be rolling this out to and in broad terms, just to kind of give people a concrete picture of what's possible?
Yes, so we're currently working with a massive ads business in the Middle East. They have various verticals. So the core of their business is advertisements, so pretty much acting as a Google for the region itself. Everything across kind of classifieds, cars, properties, job listings, services listings. So anything you can think about sits on this platform. The problem is their legacy architecture is built on database instances. I think there's about 47 different database instances, some Elasticsearch, some is RDS, some is Postgres, there's multiple different kind of variations of these things. they don't have a single view to their data. So even as a front-end engineer building their search site, I have to build logic into that code that routes between different endpoints and APIs. So what they were looking for was a unification layer, which is basically what we're doing in this scenario. So we connected all their source databases, have a schedule event, and at different events triggers to update the pipeline and runs through the mapping structure, and ultimately get to a point where you can query the data, doesn't matter what you want and how many kind of results you want, within a couple of 100 milliseconds. So we actually have a real world application with a huge data load, which is going phenomenally well. And we're looking to roll that out soonest.
Awesome. Yeah, I think this kind of touches on two core things that we think about in our product roadmap of one, like dog fooding. We've been dog fooding this internally, and it's been really exciting understanding our customer journeys better. And then two, updating our product roadmap for customer needs. I alluded to how this specific rollout kind of touches on our second rollout, and it's with that client specifically, the kind of Google-esque site. And that's where we've had to unify the data because you're working on something really cool, building a generative kind of dynamic UI for them. Can you talk about that project and what kind of technical hurdles there have been and how you've been solving those?
Yeah, 100%. I think, the world of generative AI is kicking off. And when we talk about generative AI or generative UI, it's, in a nutshell, it's basically you talking to a natural language, and it produces fundamental UI components in front of you. I think the bet that we have taken as a business is that we betting very bullishly on the fact that humans are never going to change, and the fact that they like window shopping. My wife walks around a shopping center for several hours. I don't know how she does it, and just looks at things, and I feel like this is something in the human ability that's never going to change. So I think we're also at that stage now with the nuances of actually chatting to a chatbot and responding back in natural text. It's getting a bit old. I think people are getting tired of chat interfaces. So the next step for that, how does this that you're chatting to or that you're interacting through your web interface dynamically render images, user events, and things as you kind of talk to it, to still give you that kind of visual feeling that you're actually seeing things. And it gives you the same kind of browsing thing. So that's kind of what we're thinking through. Some of the technical complexities is, and I think as we all know, like AI at the moment, the latency between you sending a message and it coming back is quite large. If the payload increases over time in terms of sending it back to the UI, you might wait 2 or 3 seconds for the UI to even generate. So how do we make that lapse feel as real time as we possibly can, to not sway too much away from the current web experiences, but give you an gentle experience when you're on a website, making it feel like it's a lot more personalized to you based on your previous conversation, your previous search histories. You should be able to go to Google, and Google should be saying, oh, you search your news events. There's kind of generative of current news events. It looks the same. Here's some of the last, have you found this package yet? How do you feel about this? So something that makes you feel like it knows you when you land on it, and kind of builds the UI around who you are as a person. That's what we're envisioning. We're making good headway on that. Obviously, it's a complex problem. I mean, we've got the likes of Vassal and the rest of the guys trying to solve the same problem. We're spending a lot of time with their frameworks and with them to understand how they're attacking the problem. But it's something that we're looking at bringing to our builders. And the ultimate goal is very similar to how we've wrapped primitives around some of the complex parts of our platform in the AI platforms, is how do we wrap these primitives around UI generation? So that you don't have to be, a UI developer or web engineer to be able to build these UIs. How do we just instruct the AI agents and give it some, marketing content to kind of determine colors and styles and feels? So how do we get it to kind of build these agentic experiences for the builders and for our customers?
That's awesome. Yeah, I think one of the North Stars for us has been that people should be able to build an entire business on Lua, and people are. This kind of opens a whole new avenue for people to do that, right? A much more complex business with a more complex UI that's more than just chat. And so I think between this and the data platform, we're looking at a whole new type of startup that's going to be able to be built on our tech stack. I think anyone listening to this is going to be excited about that. So could you talk about what the rollout period is for beta access to these, and then what you were thinking for general access for people who are excited to start building on this.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, non-deterministic data platform, we'll probably start kind of beta testing in the next couple of weeks. So I'll probably say, let's say end of February, we'll be in a zone to open up for beta testing. So please reach out on that. We would love feedback as people kind of dig through the new feature. Generative UI is probably on the same timeline. I think it's a less mature than what the data structure is, but we are putting a lot of resources behind what's like. We have some demos up and running. Anyone out there that wants to help contribute and kind of help us figure out this problem, reach out. If you want to be part of the kind of the rollout phase, let us know and we can include you into it. I think we'll probably aim for global availability towards the end of the quarter. So end of March, which will be fully available on our.
Yeah, we'll shout that out to our developer community. Obviously, if you're interested, go ahead and reach out, and we'd love to hear what your ideas are and see if we can give you beta access as this starts to roll out. So huge week for us, really exciting, and I love to see us continuing to build in a way that is kind of demand led, both internally and from our customers. So, Stefan, thanks for all you're doing, and thanks for taking the time today.
So, thanks everyone.